Now, the former 007 actor Pierce Brosnan has said that it's a given that Daniel Craig's successor should be a Brit. Joining Mari Lear and I are the writer and James Bond scholar Mark O'Connell, who joins us now.
Morning.
I love the description, Mark. James Bond scholar. How do we qualify that?
I don't know how I got that. Advocate. I'm not going to use the influencer word, but expert. We can go with expert.
Yeah, very good. I like that. I mean, I feel like I've watched the movies enough times. I maybe can say big mega fan as well, but definitely not scholar. So what Pierce Brosnan said over the weekend?
Well, he said, first off, there's a fun what-if rumour that it could be Pierce Brosnan. Like, why not? It could be a great bridging mechanism to have Pierce back as a sort of senior Bond looking back. But he's quite rightly said, it needs to be a new blood, it needs to be a new guy, and Amazon need to be creative and clever and get it right. So, yeah, I totally agree. It does. And he's right, it does need to be a Brit. It's part of the DNA of the character, it's part of the DNA of the films and their production. So, yeah, I'd stick with the Brit.
So on that then, Mark, who should it be?
Oh, I've got my list here. I'm trying not to go for the obvious ones. There is Aaron Taylor-Johnson, who crops up a lot. He's kind of the default rumour name. And he wouldn't be wrong. He's certainly in the right field for it. You know, keep an eye on him. He's done some good work. Bullet Train, he's almost like a mix of Roger Moore and Daniel Craig, so I'd recommend him. Another name that I think, and you've got to think, like, who's up and coming? Who do we know of but isn't quite, you know, A-list yet? And there's an actor called George Mackay. He was the lead in 1917, and he's doing some fun, different work at the moment. I keep an eye on him. Likewise, Nicholas Hoult, who is that rare British actor in his early 30s who's actually cracked America. He's currently doing the rounds in, I think, Juror #2, which is the Eastwood drama. Yeah, Nicholas Hoult, there's something about him, and he's got a little bit of American cachet, as I say. He's a Marvel name as well, as is Aaron Taylor-Johnson slightly. Another name, Taron Egerton, maybe just because I just enjoy his work. I think there's a bounce to his films. He's done The Kingsman, which is a sort of quasi council estate Bond, but I like the bounce of the character. Oliver Jackson-Cohen. He's a British actor. He's currently in Towards Zero, the BBC Agatha Christie thing. He's just got the looks. He's, you know, the camera likes him. That always helps. So he's definitely a name. And another name, perhaps lesser known, although he did play Bob Marley last year, and that's a guy called Kingsley Ben-Adir. He was one of the dancing Kens in the Barbie movie, and there's just something, he looks right. So that's sort of my rough bag of candidates for now. And also Henry Cavill, keep an eye on him. He's an Amazon property, and I just feel he might be on their radar now.
I am totally with you with Henry Cavill. That is my #1, actually. But I want to ask you, what do you think are, let's say, the top 3 things that you're looking for in the most kind of iconic Bond actor, as it were? What are the top things that would seal the deal for you?
Yeah, well, it's difficult because it's not just looking good on a red carpet in a tuxedo. That is the least of it, and it is a big ask. You know, you're being asked to play. You know, it's like Robin Hood or Sherlock Holmes. You're going to play one of Britain's few mythological heroes, so you know, no pressure. I think it's got to be a British actor, early 30s to late 30s. I feel for lots of reasons the demographics and the audiences need to be brought back to Bond. People under 30 perhaps have a bit less engagement with Bond these days, so I think that needs to be a factor. Someone that can work with camera crews, work with stunt crews, someone that's physically quite agile as well. You know, you need someone that's going to be able to do that and not sort of break their knee on day 2. And also just someone that's got to be a cultural ambassador for Britain, for British cinema, and for British culture as well. So, you know, it's almost like sort of being ambassador to the UN. It's quite a big ask to play Bond, so no pressure.
Of course, Kevin Costner did play Robin Hood, so maybe there's still scope for a non-Brit to get the role.
I'm starting this campaign here. America cannot take back everything, so we are keeping James Bond. I will man that fort. So yeah, let's not use.
Well, I mean, Jeff Bezos will have the final say on that now, so we'll see if that works or not. But Mark, on that note, I wanted to move on to this idea of more spin-offs. I think one would guess under the Bezos era now that the first thing they'll do is try and nail the sort of next film, but no doubt there will be some plans to monetize it going forward. Do you think that I mean, Bond purists tend to automatically say, no, that's terrible. But why not? I mean, why can't there be more content for us to consume if it is cultivated and curated in the right way?
No, totally, totally. I think at the moment, Star Wars particularly, and the Marvel franchises, they're being held up as they start with great films and, you know, important films that fandom latch onto and love, and then they start the spin-off TV things, which I think could happen with Bond. We'll have a film or two, theatrical, cinema, Amazon are very theatrical minded, and then they might spin it off. And I think it's naive to A, think they could get it all wrong, and B, that it will just be, you know, Money Penny Diaries and she'll be, you know, racing around London with a gun. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm looking at wider things like, you know, animations, tapping into the music, documentaries, looking at the history of Bond, the history of Fleming. We could, you know, whilst there's been ones before, we could have a Ian Fleming drama spin-off series. You know, he's certainly got enough stories in the box to use. So I'm not against it. And like you say, why not celebrate that world? And it is the world we live in. The pop culture world has expanded. And I think Amazon will be very mindful of that. Some of it might trip and fall, but what if some of it doesn't?
I've got an idea.
Yeah.
Pierce Brosnan, older James Bond, comes out of hiding to run for Prime Minister because the world is less safe and he wants to boost defence spending.
It's way too close to home.
Okay, how are you going to get that in the lyrics song? But no, totally. I mean, there is some... Pierce Brosnan, last week, he was doing some Aston Martin PR thing and he was stood by his old car from Die Another Day, which is 20 years ago. And I was like, yeah, why not? We've had older Logan, you know, older Luke Skywalker, older Indiana Jones. Possibly, why not? But I think Amazon really have to come out of the gate young and running. And whilst Pierce Brosnan is a gorgeous Bond, I'm not sure young and running is quite in his ballpark.
So, Mari, you might laugh at me, but our scholar thinks there's something in the idea.
Fair enough.
Final word round the bend. Favourite Bond film of all time, Mari?
Die Another Day.
What?
Can't go wrong. Classic. Come on.
Oh, wow. OK.
Goldfinger.
Goldfinger. What are you going for, Mark?
I'm a weird child. I'll say A View to a Kill because I'm an 80s Duran Duran kid.
I'm going to go for Thunderball because it's the first one I had and I just watched the video many times, so it sticks in the mind. Mark, real pleasure.
No worries. Thank you.
Thanks so much. That was